How many of you have heard about the recent events surrounding Afghanistan? Raise your hand. Wow. Do you know what caused the Taliban to take over? Do you want to know how it will affect you? Then just listen up. The current state of Afghanistan by me. In this speech, I'm going to go over the state of Afghanistan as it is right now, how it got to that point, and why this matters to the rest of the world going forward. You will know why this topic should be important to all people who reside in the U.S. Well, if you live in the U.S., then you've heard of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The attacks consisted of the hijacking of 4 U.S. commercial flights, each rerouted to crash into major American landmarks. The first 2 airplanes crashed into the North and South World Trade Centers. The second one landed in the west end of the Pentagon, and the 4th plane was overtaken by the terrorists and rerouted for Washington, D.C. However, before the 4th plane could reach its new destination, the passengers rioted and were able to cause a crash landing into a field in Ohio. It is thought that the plane may have been headed for either the Capitol building or the White House. The Taliban, located in Afghanistan, was deemed guilty of housing the terrorist group that orchestrated the attacks. This led to the invasion of Afghanistan by the U.S. only a few months later and the capture of Al-Qaeda members from Pakistan. Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, was executed famously by the Obama administration in 2011 while in his compound in Pakistan. So why should you listen to me? Since my great uncle experienced the 9/11 attacks, I've always tried to stay up to date on politics surrounding the topic. It's also something that was talked about in my house, making it easier for me to research statistics and facts on Afghanistan, since I know generally what I'm looking for. The other way I know about Afghanistan is that my cousin did 2 tours there. Although he didn't go into details about his tours, he has strong opinions on the U.S. involvement there, and we discussed the U.S. withdrawal. What is the current state of Afghanistan? Well, on August 15, 2021, the Taliban gained control of Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan. The president fled the country, and the swift offensive takeover of the Taliban was seen as largely complete. The U.S. rushed to get any citizens out of the country as Kabul airport was guarded by the U.S. military. People rushed to escape the country on the few planes that were able to leave the country. Videos and photos circulated of men and women climbing on top of one another to fit on a full plane. People clung to the airplane after it took off, and they fell like dolls, as seen in this photo. At the time, Biden gave a speech saying there were less than 200 citizens, U.S. citizens, in the country, but other estimations put the number around 5,000. Refugees set their sights on fleeing the country in any way possible. There are currently almost 1.5 million Afghan refugees in Pakistan and almost 100,000 in the U.S. Afghan people are spread out across the world seeking refuge. How did the U.S. contribute? The U.S. invaded and overtook Afghanistan in 2001. Since then, we've provided expensive stability and training to the Afghan government. Billions of dollars of military gear were gifted to the Republic, and the U.S. trained their army on how to operate the machinery. During this time, though, the Taliban was secretly recruiting citizens and army members to join their ranks. During the Trump administration, a prospective date of May 1st, 2021, was set to have fully withdrawn from Afghanistan. But when Biden took over, he promised that all U.S. troops would be out before the 20th anniversary of 9/11. On August 30th, 2021, all U.S. troops had exited Afghanistan. The problem with the way in which the U.S. withdrew was that it was done very hastily. The U.S. left $83 billion of equipment in Afghanistan. Some was abandoned and some was given. The U.S. left too quickly and didn't leave troops there to make sure the transition was done well. The Taliban is even using the U.S. Black Hawks to hang people from, as seen in this photo. Their regime has been cruel in the past and breeds terrorists. Now, why does this matter to you? It is estimated by the 9/11 Memorial that 2,983 people died on 9/11. Luckily, the US was able to go to Afghanistan and overtake the country and capture terrorists. Today, this will be a whole different story. There are billions of dollars of US equipment in the country and that it's extremely difficult to fight against. Also, since the Taliban recruited the soldiers we trained, we will now be fighting trained individuals and not just men with guns and poorly made bombs. The internet has made recruiting even easier, with terrorist groups like ISIS using social media to take on new members. Afghanistan is a breeding ground for terrorists. ISIS could even become the next Al-Qaeda, and we could lose thousands of American lives again. Looking at the 9/11 memorial, we can remember the people who died on that fateful day and also take some time to remember my main points. The situation in Afghanistan is dire. The Taliban currently control the country and are pushing more refugees out. This is a place where terrorism can flourish, and we need to stop it before another attack happens on US soil. There are billions of dollars of equipment that needs to be retaken from the Taliban so they can't wreak havoc on the world. The US isn't the only country in the world, and we need to make sure we're informed on world issues, especially ones that could potentially harm all of us. For my ending quote,